Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast that's the official sponsor of Tyrannosaurus Rex. Try and dispute that. We'll see you in court. My name's Matthew Donald, and each week I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a genus of prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week, I'm joined by a friend of mine who I've been friends with for many, many years, but I've only recently heard his voice. Could you please welcome, all the way from New Zealand, Ben O'Regan?
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm a little new to this, so if I sound a bit nervous, I apologize.
No worries. It took me a bit to get used to this, but I'm just, I'm still not really used to it, but I just kind of coast along, you know? Do what I can.
At least we can edit out anything that sounds really bad.
Of course we can. I like to edit things. I always listen through after recording to make sure it's okay. I don't ever just record and then press, okay, submit to the podcast network. No, I like to listen through it first.
God, that sounds so Orwellian. Submit to the podcast network.
That's true. Just 1984. And then they're like, we can only allow certain podcasts because the government doesn't like this one. So, anyways, not to discuss.
Or the provider doesn't like it.
Right, exactly.
Anyway.
Anyways, so I like to open up with asking new hosts to the show. What I like to ask them. I think I know the answer to this one. What is your favorite dinosaur?
Giganotosaurus, and I think I pronounced that right. I used to call it Gigantosaurus,
right,
but apparently it's Giganotosaurus.
Yeah, Giganotosaurus, I think is how it is. I used to pronounce it Giganotosaurus. But,
same, basically.
But yeah, it's Giganotosaurus. It's a good species. It certainly made headlines when it was first discovered, you know.
Yeah, because they made a big deal about it being way bigger than Tyrannosaurus Rex, and now we know, I think the bigger T-Rexes, like Sue.
Yeah, they're about the same
recall,
size. I think Giganotosaurus might have been a little longer, or like it had a slightly longer skull, but they were basically the same size.
It was more lightly built, though, so Rex would have been heavier. And I think the bites are also a different thing, because from everything I've read on Rex, it's a bone crusher feeding on ankylosaurs and stuff, whereas Giganotosaurus, we think, hunted sauropods.
Right,
so it's more of a get in, bite, let it bleed to death, eat
right,
type.
Exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, T-Rex is all about crushing, while Giganotosaurus is all about ripping, so that makes sense. That's why, you know, T-Rex had such a small arms, because it had such a big head meant for crushing to counterbalance it, you know? So...
indeed, and I think that probably the only thing it would have been able to use them for is, depending on how it slept, it might have been to help push it off the ground, or
right.
I think there's some theories that they use like the small fins on male sharks to grip during mating.
Right. Oh, that'd be. I didn't hear that one. That'd be cool.
I actually can't imagine how that would work for the Rex. I
don't want to know, but I'm sure it'd be great. I'm sure they'd love it. Okay, so all right, so.
Dinosaur breeding's not something I want to picture.
I had two cockatiels once back in the day, and they would sometimes get on top of each other, so I kind of can see it. So, thank you very much for joining Paleobites.
You're more than welcome.
Of course, happy to have you. It's always good to have different people all throughout the show and all throughout the world. You know, this is a global thing. We should all globally unite in our love of dinosaurs. So.
Indeed.
Okay, so
I admit I have fallen quite behind with my knowledge on dinosaurs. I still love them, but they're not the kind of mania I had when I was a young kid or an early teen.
I've just kind of kept it, but I sometimes fall behind as well. Like some certain things that they found, I'm just like, whoa! Like they know the colors of some of them now. Like what?
I remember we know what the testicular, I think, of parts of Tyrannosaurus are like, because they found mummified tissue.
Right. That's
that
cool.
was ages ago.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, today we're talking about. Actually, I never told you which one we're doing first, but I'll let you know now. Okay, today we're talking about my favorite dinosaur, Sinraptor.
Oh, is that how you pronounce it? I always thought it was Sinraptor.
I know, everyone thinks it's Sinraptor, but it's actually pronounced Sinraptor because it's like Sinonithosaurus or Sin. It's the Chinese way to say it.
It makes sense because, to use an example, if you've ever heard of Dynasty Warriors, when they did the English dubbing, the name Cao Cao was always pronounced Cow Cow.
Right.
Because it's CAO, but it's
different...
actually TSAO with how it's pronounced, I think. Don't butcher me, any Chinese listeners.
No worries. Like I was looking up another Chinese creature, and it was like began with QI. I think that's Chi, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a complicated language if you don't speak it, at least from my experience.
It is.
Although I hope I'm not stereotyping anything there. Yeah.
No worries. No, you're doing great. No, it is very complicated. But to be fair, English is also very complicated because all these different ways that we butcher rules and things
Indeed,
like that.
If I didn't know English as a child, because it's basically my only language, I'd probably find it difficult to learn if I was, say, speaking French or something.
Right. Well, the thing about French is that while it looks like, it's spelled like that, but it's pronounced that way. That's weird, but at least it's all consistent with each other. That's more you can say with English.
And apparently it's easier to learn the other Romance languages descended from Latin if you speak one of them than the others, because they've all got a common ancestor. So you could probably learn German easier as English or vice versa.
Right, that makes sense. Well, like, English is like a mix between, not to get into it, because, like, I am an English major, so I took some history of the English language classes.
Ooh.
And one of the things is, like, English started out as a Germanic language, but then it became, like, the French conquered, like, parts of England back in, and then it became, like, more of there was more Romance involved into it, like, the more French words. So anyways, now's not the time, but that's just an interesting little thing.
You could always do a secondary podcast on that at some point.
Well, I do have a writing podcast, but I'll get to that. So, Sinraptor, it's Chinese thief is what it means. It is a metriacanthosaurid theropod.
Like metriacanthosaurus.
Yeah, exactly. See, I actually talk about that a little bit later.
I'd assumed it was an allosaurid.
Yeah, I didn't. I thought it was just like an allosaurid or like something. Well, it is kind of in a broad sense, but
like Carcharodontosaurids and Giganotosaurids are related, but not the same.
Right, yeah, exactly. So its size, this is a big range, and I can explain why in a second. 23 to 34 feet / 7 to 10 meters long.
Crikey. It's pretty big for the Jurassic.
Right, exactly, yeah, 1 to 3 tons. The larger estimates, though, depend on if again, butchering the language, if Yangchuanosaurus hepingensis is actually a second species of Sinraptor, because some people have said that it might have been, so.
It's a bit like the debate over T-Rex and is it Tabarosaurus or whatever they've renamed it to now?
Tarbosaurus batar is its species name, and so it's like, is it actually T batar, like Tyrannosaurus batar?
Yeah, and I think at one point they called it Jin Kazan or something.
Ooh, I've never heard of that, but that sounds cool.
I just remember back when Operation Genesis was all in the rage and you had the modding Genesis team, there was debate about it from one of the modders. So, maybe I've mixed it up another carnival.
That's okay. That's one thing I do miss about Jurassic Park Operation Genesis as opposed to Jurassic World Evolution is the modding. So, anyways.
Evolution's vastly superior, though.
It is. A lot of people are like, the old one's so much better. I'm like, that's mostly nostalgia. But
it had better dinosaur behavior.
Carnivore.
That was it. Sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting.
Right, exactly. Right. Time, late Jurassic, 160 to 155 million years ago. Location, China, as we discussed, and it is Chinese thief, so that'd be something. Although I did actually forgot to put this in the description here, but recently Mongolia has created these commemorative coins, and one of them has a Sinraptor on it, which I think is cool. But is that Mongolia trying to seize China's thief for itself?
Maybe not. I mean, I'm probably wildly inaccurate here, but I know, like, the Mongols were the emperors of China at one point under Kublai Khan.
Right. Yeah, you know more of your history than I do, so I could
not that much, though, but probably more than your average Joe, but not enough to be an expert by any means.
The things you send me, though, it's so extensive, and like you had to have based this off of real history or stuff. So it's really
my
cool
Dawnverse stuff.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of that I just make up as I go. Then I just find something in history to base it on, or I scrap it.
Right. Well, that's cool though. I like it. All right. So, anyways, Sinraptor. Pop culture appearances. Well, there is this book series on Amazon called Megazoic that you can buy at Amazon.com that has a Sinraptor as a main character. Indeed. As well as that, it has a brief appearance in the documentary Planet Dinosaur, not to be confused with the documentary Dinosaur Planet.
I don't think I've seen either of those, to be honest.
Yeah, Dinosaur Planet was cool because it was the one that really showed feathered raptors to me for the first time, because it was in 2003 when that came out.
Yeah, I definitely don't think I saw it. We didn't have Sky at the time. I don't think or any of, the big channels like Discovery and all that.
Right. Well, Dinosaur Planet was Discovery Channel. Yeah, well, like Walking With was produced by BBC, so therefore it was more widely known everywhere. So.
Well, I only saw it when I got her on videotape.
Right.
I've still got that
anyways,
somewhere. It's
Planet
like the
Dinosaur's
only VHS stuff I still have.
Right. I need to... I think I just watch it on YouTube now. So, I don't know. Maybe I should actually, support the company and get like a DVD of it.
It's aged very well despite how inaccurate a lot of it is. Like, I think it was a Chronosaurus. They majorly upsized it to like kaiju proportions.
Oh, the Leopleurodon, yeah.
Oh, Leopleurodon, my bad.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, that is a bit excessive, but everything else seems to be okay. I mean, like, there's some inaccuracies, like, but...
Because I think it's their way they depict pterosaurs walking turned out to be fairly spot on. The only thing that they got wrong is the catapult launching thing that's now theorized.
Right. I actually talk about that in a later episode we're going to do here. Anyways, so Sinraptor, my favorite dinosaur. I don't know why this one's my favorite dinosaur particularly. I first heard of it at this kid's book I got in the library called The Newest and Coolest Dinosaurs when I was like 9, and I immediately fell in love with it.
Most people, honestly, from what I've seen, don't know why a certain dinosaur's their favourite. Like, I couldn't tell you why Giganotosaurus is my favourite. It just is.
But, like, at least Giganotosaurus has a gimmick. Like, it's the one that was initially thought to be bigger than T-Rex. Like, like, Sinraptor, like, it's not the biggest. It's not the most notable. It doesn't really have anything distinctive about it, really. But one thing it does have is my heart. Like, I love Sinraptor. Like, every time I've written Yeah.
I was saying, as someone who's been there for all the initial drafts of Megazoic over the years,
right,
I can tell.
Right, exactly. Yeah, every time I've written Megazoic, even if I change certain characters around in different drafts, one thing that's consistent is that the main character is a Sinraptor.
It was only in the most recent versions that are now published that you changed the name from Sucus to, is it Cortan? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I did that because I was like, Sucus and Albert and Carly, while I love all those characters, I've written about them so many times. I'm like, if I need to update this idea, I need to do something different with it. So I've done everything I can with those original characters, I thought.
Yeah.
So
and some of the characters wouldn't have aged well if you had kept them now anyway. Like Xyla, it's basically Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone.
Right.
Like a muscle
that was a bit silly. But, I was like 13 when I first started that, but that's...
Yeah, indeed. So I'm not judging, I'm just saying.
No, of course.
When we look back,
it's
like,
stuff,
well, that's cool, and then you look at something later, it's like Jar Jar, you look back at him, it's like, ugh.
Yeah, well, recently I watched the Star Wars prequels on Disney Plus, and I'd forgotten about those Trade Federation aliens. I'm like, whoa, they're so racist. They're such. Like,
I don't
Asians.
think that was intentional though. It's like if you
right. I don't know if it was or not
Watto
either.
Looks
but
like
man,
Watto looks sort of like a Jewish stereotype, but then, yeah, that's definitely not intentional.
Well, that's good, but man, it's hard to watch now. I do like those movies more than the current Disney Star Wars. But anyway,
let's not get into a rant on Disney Star Wars.
Indeed. All right. Anyway, so Sinraptor first uncovered in a joint Chinese/Canadian expedition in the northwestern Chinese desert in the late 80s. It's the best known dinosaur in the family, Metriacanthosauridae, to the point where some older publications called the family Sinraptoridae.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, we know bugger all about Metriacanthosaurus.
Right. But we can all agree that Sinraptoridae would be way better. I mean, Metriacanthosaur's main claim to fame is having its name briefly shown in a genome tube in Jurassic Park, and actually shown correctly, or spelled correctly, while sharing a shelf with the misspelled Stegosaurus and Tyrannosaurus with one N. But what's that worth? Like, Sinraptor should totally be the flagship of the family instead.
Indeed. No argument here.
Sinraptor would have shared its environment with the Proceratosaurid Guadalong.
Do they think it's Proceratosaurids are ancestral Tyrannosaurids, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They are. Anyways, and forgive me for mispronouncing this. I learned about this. The Scansoriopterygid Epidexipteryx. It's like a weird finger dinosaur. You ever heard of this one? It's like...
I think I might have in some old dinosaur book I got like 2003 or 4, which I think it's a field guide to dinosaurs that doesn't feature as a main animal, but it's that one that did interesting things like it had really
elongated front fingers.
Yeah, exactly. And when it depicted the different dinosaurs in it, it had like speculative write-ups on them, like not trying to be accurate, but it was trying to, depict them as real animals, like Therizinosaurus, if I'm not butchering that
Therizinosaurus, yes.
Yeah, like that mentioned that it had a species of, that they completely made up of like termites that live in its digestive system, so if they get struck by lightning, they'd go up in a ball of flame.
That's hilarious. Anyways, it also shared it with the Stegosaurid Tujiangosaurus. I don't know how to pronounce that, if I'm pronouncing that right.
I'm not even going to try. And Memenchisaurus, the sauropod.
Yeah, the sauropod Memenchisaurus, yes, which is some good company. Memenchisaurus also briefly seen in Jurassic Park.
The Lost World.
The Lost World, I believe. Yeah.
And you see, I think, 4 of them in total.
Oh, yeah.
Because the motorbike goes under them in the hunter scene.
Yeah, exactly. The motorcycle drives under them, yeah.
That's actually my favourite of the original 3 Jurassic Parks. Like, the original is a classic, but number 2, just more time with dinosaurs in it, even if it's sort of...
Yeah, no, I like a lot of
the end after the Rex attack on the trailer, but it's a good movie.
I like a lot of it. I think the only thing I don't like about it is how dumb Sarah Harding is.
Yes,
and all the things she does to get him in trouble, and also Nick, like Vince Vaughn's character. I think they're both just they make a very dumb decision.
I do understand what they were trying to do. Like, it's a really bad idea to take the dinosaurs off the island. I think there was also sort of an animal activism element to it, which take it or leave it. It's controversial in the modern day. Like when you see what some activists are like, but let's not go there. But like InGen really shouldn't have been removing the animals.
No, absolutely not, and they should have stopped them. I don't know. Some of the things they did, I just thought were dumb. But
like Sarah Harding not getting the blood taken off her coat, like she should have known that.
Was right. But that trailer scene is phenomenal, man. When it's off the cliff.
Oh yes, the trailer for the Lost World Jurassic Park in general was excellent. Like you see near the end, and it goes dun 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 dun, like this really tense music, and then you see that guy that gets knocked over in the water by his mates, and the Rex squashes him in the puddle.
Right. Oh, actually, so yeah, that's true. That's the trailers in the preview. I meant like the scene where the trailer's going over the cliff.
Sorry. Trailer, but... Yeah, that's a good part of the movie, though. Like Eddie Carr was excellent there. I'm actually disappointed he didn't get to dart one of the Rexes as bad as killing one of them would have been.
That would have been, but it was such a cool scene. And like, man, he tried everything he could. And they ripped him in half.
Yeah, and then when the hunters rescue them, they just treat it as an afterthought. And I think it's Nicky says, you should be more respectful. The man saved their lives. Or was that Ian?
I don't remember, but yeah, that's right. I remember that. And the raptor scene was good, even if the gymnast scene was a little silly. That is
the most terrifying raptor scene in the entire franchise. For me, raptors do not normally give me nightmares, like compared to when I was little, but them stalking the hunters through the long grass, even though the hunters are actually being really stupid not looking around, but
that overshot of you see all of them surrounding them through the grass, it's such a good shot.
And then just getting jumped, like that's one of the few times where you can actually excuse the raptors just butchering a bunch of armed men, whereas it was a bit more of a no-sell for me in Jurassic World. Like, it was for suspense, but I'm like, how did they only manage to kill one of them? And I think it was Charlie, was it, or was it?
It was Charlie after he was looking at, or she was looking at Owen, Yep. But anyways, it's all awesome. We could go on tangents on it forever, and I encourage that in this show, but we also should stay a little on topic about Sinraptor.
I do apologize about that.
All right, so Memenchisaurus lived there. Sinraptor would have been the top predator in this, unless, like I said, young Schwannosaurus, however you pronounce it, was indeed a separate species. In which case, it still would have been the top predator because Sinraptor is awesome. It would have hunted fully grown, fully healthy Memenchisaurus because of how awesome it was. I say it.
To be fair, I don't think any theropods, even the Carcharodontosaurids or Giganotosaurids, if they're classified as their own group, I think they're Carcharodontosaurids, if I'm pronouncing that right. Even they wouldn't have gone after a healthy adult. They might have gone after a female while she's laying eggs, or a young one, or a sick, wounded animal.
No, of course not. I'm just saying, because of my subjective bias, I'm saying this 20-foot carnivore totally would have been able to hunt a 90-foot long neck.
Well, there are cases where they probably could. I mean, unlikely, like, say if it's leaning its neck down to browse off something low-lying, I could see it
bites the head off.
Go for the neck, rip the windpipe. Highly unlikely, but it could happen. But yeah.
No, I'm being silly. Yeah. No, it absolutely couldn't.
I know, I'm just playing along and humouring you, man, while also taking you down a slight peg.
Of course. Oh, good to hear. No, heavens knows someone needs to. All right. Anyways, one final thing. Yeah. Its type species is Sinraptor dongji. Yeah, dongji. True masculine energy right here.
The memes people will make with that if it ever appears in the Jurassic Park franchise or another big cinema series is a meme.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yep. It'll be great. Yeah. Anyways, I love Sinraptor. So now we're at everyone's favorite part of the episode where we rate the creature 1 out of 65 billion for whatever reason we want. Well, for me, I'm going to, because I'm biased, I'm going to rate a perfect 65 billion. What about you?
Oh, I'm going to do the same. I mean, like I said, I read Sawtech from the very beginning. As you know, I also haven't kept up as much with your finally published ones just because it's a bit difficult for me to get a hold of them because Amazon
exactly.
New Zealand for some reason.
I should mail them to you. Yeah, I need to mail them to you. Maybe sometime you can give me your address and I can mail them to you.
Oh, yeah, we'll sort that out at some point.
Yeah, probably not on air. On air, read your address, please. No,
I'm not that stupid.
All right, so that was it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact me at mattd@matthewdoncreator.com, or on social media, you can find me at MatthewDonCreator on Facebook, at MatthewDon64 on Twitter, and MatthewDon64 on Instagram. You can contact me. You can contact the podcast there, and so I can relay messages to Ben if you'd like.
Yeah, because I'm not on social media anymore. I have a DeviantArt, but I'd prefer just because I got into the odd feud with some people on there not to put my details out for obvious reasons.
Of course, no, absolutely. No, if you want to contact him, just email that address I just gave you, and I can relay the messages. If you're interested in writing, I have a podcast on writing called The Writ Wit, where we say two twits talk about writting.
I must listen to more of that. I only listened to it a few times, so it just wasn't really my thing.
No worries. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. That's totally fine. Because
that's
like doing
you
it.
And
my friend Matt David, who you know as AEP.
Yeah, I was about to say that I can never pronounce it right. I keep thinking it's ape because I used to rib him about it.
It does look like ape, but no, it's AEP. Yeah. Anyways, finally, if you're interested in reading, I have a book series that we've talked about here called Megazoic, available on Amazon for print and Kindle. 4 books, all of them ready to go. Give it a read, give it a review. I mean, you've read the first one, right, Ben? And you liked it, right? So
yeah, I did. I don't remember all of it, so I must reread it at some point if I've...
up to you.
Yeah, they're definitely well worth the read, even if I'm not up to date on the other 3, because you put your heart and soul into it over the years. I can vouch for that.
Oh, so much. I sometimes it's difficult for me to write something new, because I'm like, I could just go back to Megazoic, and I'm like, no, I gotta grow as a writer.
You should probably publish the old fantasy ones at some point, like down the track, if you ever make it big enough, as like a legacy thing, so people can see the evolution of the franchise.
I might put them on my website at some point, yeah.
Yeah, that's more what I meant, not like sell them.
Right, of course. Anyways, that's it for this week. And so, as we say here at the end of every episode, I like to do like dinosaur roars, like roar.
Bit of a metal roar from me there.